Welcome back to Jack of All Trades 505. I'm your host, Joseph. If this is your first time here, welcome. If you're returning, welcome back. This was a fun project in using paper mask technique. Just wanted to really show what is capable using the paper mask, that you don't have to draw things out, that this method works very well and is effective. So anyway, I will be using several airbrushes during this piece. I did use the Iwata Custom Micron, the GSI Krios PS771, the PS270, and the Master Airbrush G23.3. I loaded the PS270 with the regular Createx colors, transparent medium gray for the background. I then loaded the Iwata Custom Micron with the illustration black and the PS771 with illustration pings gray. I used a texture effects stencil to lay down some basic textures, trying to match them to what I could see in the reference as far as light spots and dark spots. Then I went in and freehanded the cracks using the torn paper method. This is a piece of cardstock that was just ripped to create organic edges, sharp tattered edges that are, I guess, more natural than a straight sharp edge created by a cutout stencil or freehand stencil. I also used the filling from a air filter. That's the green kind of stencil that you see me using, and a hand cut hand cut stencil for texture from a remnant piece of 10 mil mylar that I burned the holes, the tiny holes in it, with a soldering iron. And yeah, I left some edges without holes so I could, but created more organic edges, just like the torn paper, just something to give it some variation. And basically I would map out pretty much where I wanted the lines with either the light gray or the Payne's gray lightly, and then I would go in with the black and darken it up, create the shadows, decide what's going to be an edge, what's going to be recessed, push certain elements back, bring other elements forward. I did use an electric eraser and a Staedtler Mars aggressive eraser or ink eraser, and a little bit with the blade in some points, and the dowel, but for the most part it was done just with the electric eraser and the Mars eraser. So this is done. This was painted on Artfinity Synthesis synthetic paper. This is I believe a 7 mil synthetic paper, so it's not as thick as the heavy duty Yupo paper, but it seems to work just as fine. It erases great. I didn't do too much scratching technique, so I can't really tell you how it will tolerate the blade yet, but I will do some more pieces here in the future that I will be using that scratching technique, and I'll see how it tolerates the blade. But as far as just the eraser itself and a little bit of dowel work, it seemed to do just fine. here I just cut out the left eye, created the border first using Payne's Gray and Black. In the lighter areas where it transitions, sprayed it Payne's Gray, and then in the darkest area, Black. I then cut away the lens part, and I used a piece of the piece of the, I guess, brim of the eye that I cut away. I used it as a shield to create the streak in the visor or in the lens itself, and then sprayed around it. Then I removed it and lightly sprayed over it just to give it some variation in lights and darks. Now I'm moving on to the right eye, leaving the centerpiece in place and concentrating on the border. I'm using the large bird stencil. I believe this is originally designed by Harder and Steenback, by Airshots. Again, I make my own stencils with a Cricut machine. There's ways of, going online. You can get an image, a PNG, and then you basically convert it to an SVG, and you can then upload it into your Cricut machine and cut it. Now, some stencils that are highly detailed, the Cricut machine just cannot handle. But basic stencils, basic shapes, even some more complex stencils, it is able to create those stencils. And, I understand people out there trying to make money, they sell the stencils, but, if you've already invested the money in the Cricut machine and you have the ability to make it yourself, it just doesn't make much sense to purchase stencils when you can make your own. I understand we don't design them, and the way that I do it, it's cheating, I guess, to a point, just because I didn't design them myself, and I still have to do a fair amount of adjusting and playing around with it in order to get it to create the image. But again, if you want to create your own stencils, there are tutorials out there on how to convert PNGs to SVGs. So anyway, here, now that we finished off the border of the lenses, I had just finished the Payne's Gray that was loaded into the PS771. So I went ahead and gave it a quick flush and then loaded Scarlet in there for the rest of the painting, and used that to lightly dust in some color and start to shift Carnage to the more red tone. I cut away the areas of the background just like I did with Spider-Man himself, inside the lens, spraying very lightly, dusting or transitioning from heavier towards the top down towards the bottom, trying to preserve as much of the white of the surface as possible. I am using the freehand shields to protect the streak of light that is reflected across the lens. I tried to put in a little tiniest bit of tone and color in between the area. Later I'll go in with white and kind of dust over it again to lighten it back up. But yeah, basically just looking at my reference, going back and forth, trying to see the darkest areas, the little tentacles that grow off of Carnage. They tend to grow and they're real slick and reflective, so I put a lot of little specular highlights. Here you'll notice that there's a smudge right in the middle of that white spot where I didn't want it. That came from the freehand stencil being dirty and transferring some on some paint onto the surface. I was able to clean that off by wetting a piece of paper towel with some Windex and just using my finger to wipe it away. And the illustration paints wipe away with just Windex. So that is one feature to try and remember when using the Createx illustration colors. Again, I always try to work from the background forward, looking for the farthest element in the background, and then moving my way forward. So obviously, we started with the background behind Spidey, and then inside of his face would be the farthest, or his head would be the farthest back element, and in that element was his left eye. Then in his right eye, we are going backwards to the right hand of Carnage, and the little tentacles growing off of his left shoulder, and then we basically cut away the rest and freehanded in his face and chest area. And again, that's why this is not exactly a traditional stencil drawing. This is more just like a frisket, or because you know in freehand airbrushing, even at times, freehand artists will go in with frisket and cover an area, protect it from overspray, so they can freehand in a particular cutout, the freehand in what they're trying to do, and protect the rest of the area from overspray. And essentially, that's all the paper mask is doing, is protecting from overspray. And the nice thing with using a magnetic board is that you can use the magnets to reposition it, put it back. You're not having to spend extra money on adhesive spray. You let the magnets do their job. You have to buy quite a few magnets. I have a couple of different kinds, the thumbtack kind and a flat round magnet. I do find that sometimes the thumbtack magnets can kind of get in your way, and you'll tend to hit them, and that can obstruct your flow when you're trying to do a line, and that is definitely not a good thing. So that's why I tend to like those flat round magnets, but they are harder to pick up from the surface without dragging them or scratching the surface. So again, there's pros and cons to each of them. Here I just using the cut away background to protect for overspray while I sprayed in the face, and using a freehand shield to try to protect an area. I couldn't find that small section in between the hand and his head, so that's why I had to use the freehand shield there. And it didn't protect 100%, so there was some overspray that I had to erase with the eraser. I started in on the face and to do the line work on the face with black, and my phone died. So that's why there is this skip in progress. Didn't get to see all the me doing the lines on the face. I was having a little bit of trouble with this airbrush, laying down clean, consistent lines. It's a bit finicky. You really, really have to mess with the mixture. You probably have to strain it, just because it just doesn't seem to like any paint I put in it. Even the illustration paints thin down 1-to-1. It's still, like I said, I have flow issues. I have controllability issues. I have trouble with laying down clean, crisp lines. But again, this was kind of late at night. I started working 3-4 in the afternoon till about 10:30 at night, taking breaks here and there. It's about 5.5-6 hours of actual airbrushing over 6-7 hours. So, I would get a little frustrated. I would try messing with the mixture. I'd come back, it would flow good for a while, and then I would start to have problems. So, again, this is more a paint flow mixture issue, I think, than the airbrush. Even though, again, I have my issues with the airbrush and the tensioner and controllability stuff, I'm trying to work it out. I may have to send in my airbrush and have it serviced, just to make sure that there's nothing wrong with the airbrush. I sent in my PS771 to spray gunner. They took a look at it and determined that there were many issues, some of which may have been my fault, some of which may have been from the company. But regardless, they determined that it would cost too much to try to repair it, and they put in a warranty claim with the company and sent me out a brand new one. And I can say that I am very, very happy with this airbrush now. I had issues with that airbrush ever since I got it. It was a direct buy from Japan. I had no way to return it to the seller, and Spray Gunner is the one that took care of me. So shout out to those guys for taking care of me. I really appreciate it. And yeah, so now I'm rocking and rolling again with this airbrush, using it again here for the red, and the Iwata Micron for the black. Again, I'm just I may have to send in my Micron to get that serviced and see what's going on with that, and see if it's not the issue, because now all of a sudden my PS771 is my rock star again. So anyway, here we're advancing towards the bottom. And again, here you missed the section in the face where I was doing the lines in the mask. That did include all the little tentacles that were growing off of Carnage's hand onto his face, and me erasing them. So again, I apologize about that. But this is the same process that I took for those tentacles that you see me here on the finger. Just creating little vines, trying to taper them off, and then coming in with the electric eraser and erasing highlights. And again, just if I spray an area, I take a step back, I see that it's not dark enough, it needs more tonal value, more contrast, I will go back in and revisit the area and make adjustments. And yeah, this again, we're just working in layers, working on the hand, the fingers. Basically, one thing I should know about the colors on the red, I did make an adjustment with the red. That's not pure scarlet. I did add some burnt sienna to the mix just because it was a little too pinkish, kind of I don't know, looking magenta to me, and so I needed to kind of darken it up and make it a little more of a tomato looking red. So yeah, here I'm just doing each finger, using the finger above it as a border or an edge to work off of, and then going to the next one. Again, I made a artistic decision to kind of cut away the 1/4 inch border around or containing Spidey's hand, so it looked 3D, like it was popping out of the frame, and everything else maintaining inside the frame. Yeah, this again, I just here you'll notice in a second though that I did that. I put the cutaway down and then forgot, oh yeah, I had to extend that down and pull the rest of the tape away. So anyway, that's what you just see me do here, and I just sprayed in the color, some more tonal value, and that pretty much wraps up this painting. Now I did go in off camera and clean some things up. I did have to somebody pointed out that the line work was a little messy, and so I did have to clean that up. But I thank you guys for joining me. Hopefully this helps you, and if you like this video, please like, subscribe, and share it, and leave a comment about what you'd like to see next time. Thanks a lot. Bye.